I will just say hello. Oh, okay. Welcome, everybody. My name is Abby Goldsmith. I am the author of the Torth series. That's on Royal Road. It's an ongoing stub, and this is the first book, and it's available from Amazon Audible. So, also, I drew some of my characters in the background there. Uh, so yeah, I guess obviously anybody can ask any questions. I don't know if anybody's watching at all. And I was hoping to be on a few panels later in Guildificon. However, this week I'm going to Disney World. So turns out that the panels I want to be on Thursday, and I'll be in the Magic Kingdom. So, Epcot, Magic Kingdom. Yeah. And right now, I guess I have a bunch of questions. Ooh, hello. Yeah, so let's see. So I would say it's a little strange. Like I don't have the biggest audience, but I have a good audience. So I love having readers. I mean, I started to serialize my Torth series on Wattpad back in 2017. And I was posting about one chapter per week. So I just wrapped that up this year, 500 plus chapters. And oh yeah, synopsis. Um Well, in a galaxy where sociopaths get upvoted, no one sane dares challenge them. A group of runaway slaves and gladiators join forces with an outcast thought leader. It's social media on a galactic scale with superpowers, spaceships, and celebrities. So it's a little, it has a little bit of a Dungeon Crawler Carl vibe. No dungeon. It's not as humorous. It's dark. So I have to give that disclaimer all the time. It's progression fantasy, but it's dark. Um, the heroes do win in the end. It's not totally tragic. It's not like a complete downer, but I've definitely had some readers in the beginning in the first book or so where like, where's the easy wins? This character's getting beat up a lot. And I'm like, yeah, he has to level up a lot. And the bad guys are very overpowered. So the bad guys are the Torth, and they are kind of like a Borg collective, but with individual personalities. And yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I grew up reading Stephen King and lots of dark stuff. I'm a big fan of George R. R. Martin and Joe Abercrombie and so forth. So I just think my mind just works in dark ways. Hi, Kyle. Yeah. So it's a little I'm honestly trying an experiment with a new series I'm writing where I'm trying to be a little bit less dark and grim. And I think it's working, but my mind does go in that direction. So my husband's my first reader, and he reads the chapters as they come out. Either. Um, and it's great because he's kind of like the ideal like lit RPG progression fantasy type of reader. So he reads a lot of it himself. And so he's kind of like a good barometer for me. So if he starts to go, this is really dark, I'm getting depressed, I'm like, oh, okay, this chapter was too dark. And I'm slowly learning kind of like when I'm going like veering off into like bleak instead of anyway. So I'm definitely trying to like be a little more upbeat and take myself less seriously as a writer. And the new series, that's what I'm doing. Now, Torth, oh, thanks. Yeah, Royal Road was awesome. I'm definitely going to serialize my next one on there. So Wattpad, I felt like the growth was kind of limited, and I kind of studied Royal Road for a while, and I was like, I really want to try this out. Um, and I launched it in December, and I would say by February I had over 1,000 readers on there, and I got an offer from Podium. So it was awesome. Getting on the top of the Rising Stars list was what kind of like doubled my readership in like a week. And I still have readers there. So it's an ongoing stub. And I'm posting 5 chapters per week right now. The books are all pre-written. They're all completed. So I don't have to worry about like keeping up. And So anyway, so yeah, the ending is there. I've been posting advanced chapters on Patreon. I am actually doing some edits as I go. So thanks. Yeah, I got this necklace at a Ren fair. Um and yeah, so let's see. I mean, it's fun. I do like seeing people's reactions to the later books because I do think the first book it's got some structural issues which I always worry about. The later books I think are better. They're just stronger. So, people who stick with it, I think they're getting rewarded. I've definitely seen a lot of good comments on Royal Road where they're like, "Why isn't this series more popular? I don't understand." And I'm like, "Give it some word of mouth, guys." But I mean, honestly, it's a hard sell, and so I've kind of learned that it's like it's got a lot of weirdnesses and quirks that make it a little bit hard to sell. Like, so for instance, the main character, I've got him on the cover of the book here. Um, so main character looks like a 12-year-old and has the knowledge of a god, basically. He just soaks up information. He soaks up lifetimes telepathically. So he's like an old man in a young person's body. Thanks. So it's a little bit like it's been mistaken for YA, but people are confused because a character that young is actually middle grade, and it's definitely not middle grade. It's dark. So adult themes and all that. So it's kind of like, all right, that's just a hard sell. I'm a female author writing a kid character, which I think that just gets labeled in a certain way. It got a really great Kirkus review, starred Kirkus review, but yeah, the Kirkus review kind of implies that it's YA. So I'm like, all right. But it also has Thomas, that character, he is not just the only character. I've got dual protagonists. Got them over here. So Thomas is there, Aryak is here. And Aryak is a giant. He is kind of the tank character, and he's very superhuman. He's kind of like a breeding experiment where it's a long story, but an oracle kind of set in motion a series of events that made his life possible. So he's kind of the chosen one, and yet his life is very orchestrated, and he is not the true hero of the story. It's actually the people pulling his strings are the true heroes. So even though he gets a lot of stuff done, he's a good character in his own right. He himself is well aware that a lot of his benefits or his like overpowered traits were handed to him kind of on a silver platter. I mean, he inherited them, they were given to him. And so he himself is aware that even as a chosen one, he's got a lot of flaws. So, yeah, it's a little awkward. I have like my day job going as well right now. So, oh, thank you. Yeah, the link, it's just abbygoldsmith.com/majority. It should be in the comments. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so another thing too, though, is it took a number of years. I mean, I did this over a series of more than a decade. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, wow, you wrote a 1,000,000-word series? How is that even possible?" It's like, I didn't just do this over the weekend. Yeah. Yeah, overpowered villains too. Like, man, so I have a lot of fun with the villain characters. I guess, yeah, they're not in that picture. Yeah, day jobs. Yeah, so like, let's see, the villains here, they do have individual personalities, but it's kind of like a cult of personality. So the Torth majority, everything is voted upon, the majority rules. So it's social climbers that make it to the top of the society, and they are the ones orchestrating kind of the evil galactic empire. They voted to outlaw all kinds of things. They've outlawed a lot of science, they've outlawed sex, they've outlawed emotions. They're very oppressive, they own slaves. So they're pretty terrible in all ways, but it's kind of like a gradual thing where at the time those laws seemed like a good idea. They wanted to outlaw, for instance, like bioengineering because they don't want anyone born with too much power. Everyone's supposed to be born equal, and so that's what they were going for. The original people that set up the Torth Empire were going for equality, and so they voted, like everyone should be able to read minds. We are all equal as mind readers, and they're kind of bioengineered to read minds. And so anybody that's kind of like, there's no inheritance, there's no family dynasties. Everybody is born on a baby farm. Thanks, Dawn. Yeah, I recognize your name. Um, yeah, so it's just like, so they've outlawed emotions because basically in the megacosm where all the Torth are hooked up together, it's kind of like the internet on steroids. They don't want outrage. They don't want the clickbait outrage that we kind of see with our nascent internet. They don't think that strong emotions are a good thing. They think that outrage or extreme sadness, extreme grief, extreme even joy or anything like that is going to mess people up. So they've outlawed that. Everybody wears tranquility meshes in the Torth Empire. And, anyway, so I could go on and on about all the laws they have. But basically, the leaders of their society are telepathic super geniuses. So these super geniuses are mutants. They have infallible memories. They are engineered to die at a young age. They cannot live to adulthood. If they live to adulthood, they're considered too powerful. So the majority has voted to keep them at a young age. And the Torth, by the way, I know they look human. They are human adjacent. They're related to humans. I've got alien humans and alien aliens in my series. So the Torth were originally seeded by the same aliens that seeded Earth. So basically, they can interbreed with humans. They are part human. But they're very alien. They're like the most alien aliens in the series because of all the megacosm and the rule by majority. So the rules of their society are more or less sociopaths. The super geniuses at the top, like, they can process information very quickly. They're just extremely smart. They've got all kinds of flaws. I mean, some of them are suicidal. Some of them don't want to be part of this empire secretly. Some of them want to take over the universe secretly. They're always scheming. They've always got something going on, and there's a whole bunch of them. So my main character, Thomas, is actually a super genius that was raised on Earth for numerous reasons, which I can't tell you because of spoilers. But anyway, yeah, so he is one of these mutant super geniuses. And the series, I would say, it almost has like a spy versus spy thing where it's like super genius versus super genius. Thomas is facing the upward governess at first, who is like the eldest super genius in the Torth Empire. And she secretly doesn't honestly like being a Torth, but you gotta please the crowds if you're gonna be at the top of society, and that's what she wants to do. So she just has tons of orbiters, trillions of orbiters, like, that are fans of hers, basically. The Torth, since they've outlawed emotion, they kind of rule by logic. So, I'm not sure if I should keep talking about the Torth, but anyway, the cover of the book, you mean? Yeah, or that cover. Yeah, so I actually drew those. I went to animation school. I went to Cal Arts for character animation. And yeah, yeah, awesome. Yeah, okay. Yep, so, like, basically, I mean, you can see these characters on my website at abbygoldsmith.com. They're just at the bottom of the page. And let's see, like, I mean, I've always been an artist, but honestly, I've been moving away from that kind of a little bit more towards writing in my adulthood. But as a kid, I loved to write, I loved to draw. And I was writing novels even back then. I got a terrible rejection letter when I was 12, and I was like, "Oh no, I can't be a writer." The editor, actually, it was an editor at Random House. She sent me a follow-up saying, well, you're a kid, we could work with you. And I was like, nope, nope, you said that I was bad, and I was 13, so I didn't really. Anyway, so like at that point, I was like, all right, I'm gonna be a filmmaker. So I went to Cal Arts for character animation. Wanted to work for Disney or Pixar. At the time, Pixar was really going strong. So it was before Disney bought them. So basically, I had a lot of fun there. I mean, I made character animated films that were screened in some international film festivals, Annecy International and the Museum of Modern Art and so forth. And yeah, right. I mean, it's like if you have the storytelling bug and you're afflicted with storytelling, I mean, it comes out somehow. That's awesome, Dawn. Screenwriting, yeah, I tried that as well. Um, oh, sure, yeah. I had them on YouTube, and I'm not sure they're still up because I think for some reason YouTube had a problem with them at some point. Um, but I should put them on my own website. I might as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, what was I going to say about screenwriting? Yeah, I gave that a try. I have a brother-in-law who's a screenwriter actually, but yeah, I went to like a whole bunch of like WGA meetups, and I was like, well, let me try to break into Hollywood this way. And honestly, it was just too much schmoozing, and I'm not good at that at all. And it just seemed too much of a rat race. Video games as well. I was a director on a whole bunch of like SpongeBob games, like a whole bunch of edutainment games for Nintendo and Leapfrog. And I just kind of woke up one day at the age of 30, and I was like, do I want to keep building other people's dreams? Do I want to just be the director of SpongeBob games for the rest of my life? I knew I wanted to write my own books, tell my own stories. So I kind of got out of there. I started going indie in a lot of different ways. I worked as an indie game artist for probably 5 or 6 years, and then I was teaching at community college, and finally I just got out of that whole industry. I still do art for my husband's indie game, and his game is actually First Earth, and it's an MMO, a browser-based MMO, which I think is really awesome. I think there's so much potential there. He's also developing it for VR. So it's cool to see like my own artwork like in a VR world. I love that. Um, and I don't know. I mean, there's a like that's a giant epic project as well. Like developing a VR game or any kind of game just takes like years and years, especially for doing it by yourself. So it's much like writing an epic series. There's a lot in common there. We kind of bonded over that. Um, yeah, so I'm not sure what else I should say. We're going to Disney World soon. Um, Vengeance, yeah. Yeah, honestly, it's like I've always wanted to be like a best-selling author, but yeah, I kind of wonder where like I've kind of had to step back and see like, okay, right, LA. Oh my God, yeah. I'm probably seeing these comments not in real time, so sorry if I'm responding a little bit of a lag. Um, yeah. Yeah, so other projects for me, I'm currently writing a new series that's epic fantasy, progression fantasy, and the gist of it is like kind of a country bumpkin who reverses the enshittification of magic in the world. So I've kind of like probably a lot of people have noticed there's a lot of bureaucracy in corporate America and corporate Western world right now. So there's a lot of people say like bullshit jobs or like kind of nonsense jobs. And I noticed that myself. It's kind of like things are getting worse in a lot of ways. Like Google search is kind of defunct at this point. Um, and people kind of notice these things. And so I have this world where magic has gotten very corporatized and bureaucratized, and it's not as sufficient as it used to be. So this character grew up in a corner of the world that has not been taken over by kind of the Roman Empire of magic. And and yeah, so this character is going to be like kind of in the backwater area learning magic from 800-year-old books. And um yeah, and so sorry, I was just like some weird notification from the day job. So like yeah, so 800-year-old books that were kind of before the magic really started to get corporatized. And so he teaches himself, and he's kind of a lone genius out in the corner of the world. And his corner of the world gets invaded by the Roman Empire of magic. And so he, ends up going to magic school, and he's like, wow, this is really um crufty. They've really got like um a burden code debt, like code review, like they're just kind of they've made spellcraft into some very inefficient machine. So yeah, so I'm having a lot of fun with that. He's not necessarily going to take over the world, but he's going to empower the people that are. Right. Yeah, you can't cast that spell with that form. Um right, exactly. Like, yeah, I'm going to have like corporate headhunters going on, like the whole HR department. There's going to be fairy notifications, happy birthday. Everybody has to celebrate birthdays. So just a lot of kind of annoyances. And I'm going to have sort of like a big corporate headquarters kind of ruling this world where they're running things. And a lot of like middle management, like, so things are just bogged down. So the kind of good people are getting demotivated. Anyway, it'll be a fun series. I'm already having a lot of fun writing it. I'm about 19 or 20 chapters into it. And it's a lot less structured than the Torth series. So Torth, I really spent a lot of time. Copyright violation. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of like to do like social commentary in my crazy sci-fi fantasy. So in subtle ways. I mean, I don't think it's hitting you over the head with it, but I like to make fun of the world we're in. I actually just went through kind of a problem with cancer. I was diagnosed with cancer. I had stage 2, and I had to go through chemotherapy and all that. And yeah, just seeing kind of up close the corporatization of healthcare in America. I want to make fun of it. I want to say something about it. So this is kind of my way of doing that. With the Torth series, it's a little bit more like making fun of social media and the kind of like dark Twitter mobs and Reddit mobs that we see on social media. The way everybody is so pressured to like not say anything offensive or to jump on, follow the leader. So yeah. Yeah, I think it's like everybody in America has at least known someone that was kind of a victim of a misdiagnosis or some kind of, crazy hospital bills that were out of control, or that sort of thing. Like everybody knows someone who's had that happen to them. So yeah, it needs to be made fun of. Somebody needs to say something about it. Yeah. Yep. A lot of people are getting away with things. So, I mean, and everybody's got their pet theories about what's causing it. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you something else. Like while I was in the hospital, like recovering from major emergency surgery, like bleeding in my nightgown, I was writing the end of the Torth series. So to me, writing keeps me sane. It's a lot of fun. That's what I would rather be doing. So yeah. Sorry for any weird distractions here. Anyway, yeah. Outside of lit RPG, yeah. honestly, I just love big epic series. I love sci-fi fantasy. I grew up reading lots of Stephen King, Anne Rice, Robert Jordan, George R. R. Martin. Um, yeah, yeah, thank you. I mean, honestly, I'm fine now. The cancer, no, I'm cancer free. Everything's fine. Um, but yeah, like honestly, if they had caught it any later, it could have been a major problem. So, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's really dedication so much as the writing part of things for me is the fun part. It's the marketing part and all that that I kind of hate, which I'm sure is the case for like 99% of all writers. I really enjoyed seeing Matt Dinniman's series take off. I'm kind of like rooting for him and people like that. It's like, oh my god, you're having fun clearly, and it's so nice to see somebody take off without having to jump through all the crazy hoops of traditional publishing. Um, Man, yeah, my husband is a big fan of David Eddings. Um, and yes, I've read the First Law trilogy as well. Like, I'm a big reader, so I do read. I've read David Eddings. I've read First Law. Um, and yeah, I recommend them. Yeah, so like David Eddings is a little too happy and sweet for me. Um, so that's one of those things where I'm glad to have somebody like my husband give me that perspective, like the sweeter, nicer perspective of things, because I think a lot of readers these days are a little burned out on grimdark. So I definitely see that with cozy fantasy kind of on the rise and that sort of thing. Even Dungeon Crawler Carl, it's not cozy fantasy, but it's kind of like humorous. It's like it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got that lighthearted, like Rick and Morty kind of humor. So, right, it's like, yeah, I mean, even First Law, it wasn't that dark in my opinion. It was the tragic ending, I think, that got a lot of people going, ooh. One of the best series I really enjoyed lately was Michael G. Manning's Choice of Magic, Art of the Adept series, which was, I have to say, that's a dark ending. It ended in tragedy. So be prepared. But it's a glorious power progression up until that ending. So I think a lot of people were put off by the ending of that, but I thought it fit. And I am able to roll with tragedy sometimes if I think it fits. So yeah, no, I haven't read the Warhammer books. So, but I know they're so popular. So it's interesting. I might go for them. Right now I'm reading Mother of Learning. That's one of the ones that had such a big following, and I was like, all right, I've got to see what this is all about. So Guardian of Aster Falls. Yeah, I should try that one. I'll have to add it to my list. Um, I've been considering honestly launching a series review channel on YouTube or something because I read so many series. I prefer them to standalones. So, for me, like I like getting to know characters and I like a good like ramping up Zero to Hero. Grimdark, yeah. I mean, yep, I still love Grimdark. Game content, honestly, so the game content I wrote was like for SpongeBob Entertainment, so it doesn't relate. Um, I kind of like had a little bit of a tussle with the project manager on that SpongeBob project where I kind of wanted to go into like more of a meaty story, and he was like, no, and um, I mean, that, yeah, like in the end, it's not worth fighting over when you're working on somebody else's IP. And SpongeBob does have a little bit of darkness, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, yeah, game content writing. I haven't done enough of it for anything, especially for adult entertainment, to really say much about that. But I will say, I have been my husband's game. I've done his crafting system, and for me, like, oh, that's a good idea. Thanks. Um, yeah. So for me, like, I enjoy creating a crafting system. Like, I also enjoy creating hard magic systems. Like, it's kind of like puzzle solving, and it's fun for me. So that was kind of interesting. My husband really didn't want to do it, and I'm like, "Well, I'll do it for you. Give it to me." So, Yeah, I've been like, okay, here's how it's gonna work. Um, oh, and I guess that's the end, and I didn't notice before. But again, I am Abby Goldsmith, Majority, and that's the first book. The second one's coming out in January. Thank you so much for joining me. Goodbye, everybody.